The fight is not my fight, guys. The fight that I'm talking about today is your fight. It could be politics. You know, maybe your wife came to you and said, hey, we're not doing good in our marriage and I'm considering a separation or divorce. Okay, that's your battle then. It could be your health. Maybe you just got a health diagnosis and the doctor says you're pre-diabetic. That's your fight. It could be business. What matters is what you think. What is your fight? So let's talk about this. 5 key steps that you can employ to ensure that you are anxiously engaged in not only the fight, but your fight. What does it mean to be anxiously engaged in the fight? Well, it means that, number one, you have a fight worth fighting. Not every hill is worth dying on. Not every issue is important. Not every concern is relevant to you. But if you found something that's meaningful and significant to you and you feel like it's worth fighting for, then being anxiously engaged in that fight or in that battle means that you are pouring fully into it. You're investing your time, energy, and resources into it, and you're taking the fight to the nth degree. Guys, today we're going to talk about what it means to be anxiously engaged in the fight, including where that term comes from. And also, we're going to talk about 5 key strategies that you can employ every single day to ensure that you are anxiously engaged in the fight. And I'll also share with you why that's important. Before I get into that conversation, though, I just want to mention a couple of things. Number one, we've got our show sponsors. They help make this podcast possible. Number one, it is Montana Knife Company. If you're looking for a good knife, look no further than Montana Knife Company. I've got a hunt coming up on November 2nd in Minnesota. I believe this is my 8th year hunting out there. I've had success to varying degrees, but I will tell you what, every time I shoot a deer out there, I do not break that deer down with anything other than my Montana Knife Company knives. If you're looking for something in the field, or if you're trying to cook that deer in the kitchen, or want an everyday carry, look no further again than Montana Knife Company and use the code ORDEROFMAN at checkout to save some money when you do. That's montanaknifecompany.com. Use the code ORDEROFMAN. And the last announcement that I want to make is that we have a very brand new event coming up May 1st through the 5th, 2025, just outside of St. Louis. I partnered with Larry Hagner with the Dad Edge, Connor Beaton with Man Talks, and Matt Boudreau with Apogee Strong to put together a conference/event/experience unlike any other. My job, my goal, my ambition and desire with this experience is to create a new wave of experiences for you as a man that will help not only you learn the information that you need to learn to be a better man, but to actually apply it. So we're going to be doing activities, including shooting and ropes courses and jujitsu. And then we're going to mix in some conference-style talks where you're going to hear from incredible men on what it means to be a father, husband, business owner, and community leader. If you want to know more about that event, act very quickly. We only have 200 spots available for this between us 4, and I think we're probably about 30% of the way there sold on tickets already. Go to themensforge.com, themensforge.com. This is going to be different. I'm so tired of going to conference centers and listening to all the guys talk at me for 3 days. This is so different, and I want you to be there. themensforge.com. Men, let's get into it today. Some of you may know, if you've been following me for any amount of time, for a long time, you might know that I used to be LDS or Mormon. I am no longer, but I also recognize that we ought to look for truth where it exists, and I believe that this is true. This is a statement from Doctrine and Covenants, and this is, again, Mormon doctrine, but I also believe that there's some validity to this. There's some truth, and regardless of where you are with regards to religion or spirituality or just your walk as a man, we should always be looking for truth where it exists, and I wholeheartedly buy into this reference. It says this: men should be anxiously engaged in a good cause and do many things of their own free will and bring to pass much righteousness. For the power is in them, wherein they are agents unto themselves. And inasmuch as men do good, they shall in no wise lose their reward. This is talking a lot about the concept of sovereignty. I wrote a book in 2016, I believe, called Sovereignty, the battle for the hearts and minds of men. And this is a reference to what it means to be sovereign. But ultimately, what I wanted to talk with you about today is being anxiously engaged in something that's important, in a fight. I'm not talking about necessarily a physical fight. I'm talking about something that's meaningful, something that's significant, something that speaks to you, something that is relevant, something that actually matters. I could engage in fights all day on social media. Very few of them actually matter. I'm talking about things that really matter in the grand scheme of things and will help move the needle, not only from a personal and your family relationships, but even culturally. Order of Man is a great example of what it means to be in the fight. I am in the fight every single day for the battle to reclaim and restore masculinity. And I'm going to share with you 5 things that you can do every single day to ensure that whatever fight you choose, you are going to be victorious. You are going to emerge as a winner of this ultimate battle. But what is the fight, guys? That's the question. It's not my fight. Many of you have enlisted in my fight, and I'm glad to have you here. You are welcome to be here, and I hope that this is important to you. But your fight is not always my fight, and my fight is not always your fight. Every once in a while, I'll hear from people who will say, oh, Ryan, you should talk about X, Y, and Z. You should talk about A, B, and C. Talk about D, E, and F. You talk about that. I talk about what it means to be a man. I talk about reclaiming and restoring masculinity in society and culture today. Those are the things that I talk about because those are the things that are relevant to me. If you want to talk about something else, you should do that. Why are you asking me to do it? When you have a voice, when you have the tools and the resources at your disposal to be able to make that battle yours. There's a reason why this mission is so important to me. And there's a reason why whatever mission or fight you choose to engage in will be important to you. I don't need to convince you to join this battle. I would like you to join this battle, but if you have something more relevant or pertinent to talk about, then you talk about that in your own way, and I'll even help you do that. The fight is not my fight, guys. The fight that I'm talking about today is your fight. It could be politics. Obviously, we're on the eve of a very crucial political election in the United States, from our president to down ballot to senators and House of Representatives to local, state, and city and county elections. That's very important right now. So the fight for you at this moment in time might be political. Maybe it's in your family. You know, maybe your wife came to you and said, hey, we're not doing good in our marriage and I'm considering a separation or divorce. Okay, that's your battle then. That's the thing that you need to fight today. It could be your health. Maybe you just got a health diagnosis and the doctor says you're pre-diabetic. That's your fight. That is your fight right now. You need to lose 20, 30, 50, 80 pounds and get out of that window of potentially becoming a diabetic. It could be substance abuse. And if you followed me for any amount of time, you know that I've had my fair share of struggle with alcohol abuse. And if that's something that you've been confronted with or are dealing with, then that is your battle. And that was certainly a battle at a point in my life where I really needed to rein that in. It could be business. Maybe you're starting a new business. Maybe you're trying to grow your business. Maybe you're just trying to keep your business from going belly up, but that is your battle. It could be a cultural issue, from transgender issues. You know, I saw this thing, University of Nevada in Reno just decided to forfeit against the University of San Jose because I guess San Jose has a man on their women's team for volleyball. So the University of Nevada Reno is the 5th school, if I understand correctly, that has decided to forfeit their competition, their game, against University of San Jose. And by the way, I think that's a good thing. That's not the battle I'm engaged in, but culturally, I think that's a battle worth fighting. And these young women, to their credit, are doing exactly what they need to do. I've got a lot of flack for saying that once women finally stand up and stop playing these teams that have men in them, then things will change. People say, well, they've worked so hard. They should give that up. Yes. You know, if you want what you want, it requires sacrifice and commitment and risk. So congrats and kudos to the young women of University of Nevada, Reno, for deciding to forfeit their game against the University of San Jose. I think that's a tremendous thing. You might not think that. It doesn't matter what I think. What matters is what you think. What is your fight? So let's talk about this. 5 key steps that you can employ to ensure that you are anxiously engaged in not only the fight, but your fight. Number 1, pick a fight. All right, not everything in your life is worth fighting over. I could jump on social media right now. In fact, I'm getting alerts and messages and notifications about people responding and people arguing and people debating about things I post, things other people post, things about Elon Musk, things about Trump, things about this person, things about that person. 99% of them I don't care anything about. I don't. And yet I'm just as susceptible to getting sucked into the bullshit as you are. Is that a fight worth having? No, it isn't, guys. 99% of the things that we see on TV or on the silver screen or on our little tablets and phones and devices and our computers are not worth getting engaged in. But 1%, maybe less, are worth actually fighting for. What is it that you want to fight for? What hill would you literally and figuratively be willing to die on? If you don't know what that is, that's the first step. If you have so many to choose from, the second step is to pick one. Pick one. Pick a battle. Pick something meaningful. To go back to what I said about Elon Musk, and I mentioned him earlier, Elon Musk is not solving insignificant problems. I mean, he started PayPal. That might have been an insignificant problem at the time. But now he's moved on to much bigger and better things. He's talking about colonizing Mars. He's grabbing rockets out of the air. Like he's electric vehicles. He's providing communication software and technology to underprivileged and underserved and disastrous circumstances. These are big problems that he's trying to solve. Again, not my problems. Not things that I'm interested necessarily in investing in at this point. I can see the need for those things, but I'm investing in different things. What is your fight? Is it the fight for masculinity? Is it the fight to colonize Mars? Is it the fight against domestic abuse? Is it the fight against substance abuse? Is it the fight against having Democrats take the presidency and the Senate? I don't know. I don't know what your fight is. But what I do know is that as a man, it's not our job to be necessarily happy, but it's our job to have meaning and purpose and fulfillment in our lives. And we won't have that until we latch onto something to fight against. That's the difference between men and women. Women are relational. They'll turn inwards. Look at them. Look at how they congregate. Just go observe a group of women relative to a group of men. Groups of women will generally turn inwards, and they'll communicate and they'll talk about nothing and everything, and they'll laugh and they'll play and they'll do the things they need to do, but they're always facing inwards towards each other. What do men do? We form lines, which means that we're directional. Consider an offensive line, right? Or if you don't want to look at a line, consider in the NBA how we come up with formations in order to attack or in order to defend, but we're never looking at each other. Men don't look at each other. What men do is we look outwards, back to back, shoulder to shoulder. I'm not looking at you. You're not looking at me. We're looking outwards, observing threats and recognizing opportunities. And that's what we as men do, is we are looking for the fight. What is your fight? Who are you enlisting with? If you don't have anybody to enlist in me, enlist in Order of Man, enlist in this movement. And eventually you'll find what is important to you. All right, number 2. So that was first, pick a fight. Number 2, take it to the nth degree. I talked a little bit about my substance abuse issues over the past several years. I've had people ask, like, well, can't you just have a drink? No. The answer is no. I don't have a drink. I have all the drinks. I don't start a business. I start the business. Guys, when I go 100%. And if I'm not willing to go 100%, I don't go at all. The second step in picking a fight and being anxiously engaged in that fight is taking it to the nth degree, looking about how you can invest, how you can make it better, looking at it over the long term, not worrying about short-term failures or losses and thinking about what happens in the grand scheme of things. one of my favorite quotes, and I'm going to butcher it here, comes from the movie A-Team, where Liam Neeson says, give me a week. I'm paraphrasing. Give me a week and I'm good. Give me a month and I'm really good. Give me, 3 years and I'm unbeatable. That's the point that I'm making. If you're going to get in a fight, you better fucking win that thing. And if you're not willing to win it and you're not willing to do what it takes to win, maybe find something else. That might be a good indicator that there's something else that's more relevant and pertinent for you. If it's fighting for your family, nth degree. Starting that business, nth degree. Worrying about joining the gym and getting involved in a bodybuilding competition, nth degree. Getting that black belt in jiu-jitsu, nth degree. And I know there's a lot of people who say, that's toxic. Can't people just join what they want to join for fun? You can if you want, but I'm interested in winning, and I think you are too. Fun isn't my goal. I like to have fun. I like to enjoy my life, but you know what's fun? Winning. Being successful in business, paying off my debt, losing weight, being successful, getting that next belt in jiu-jitsu, winning the political race. What's fun is winning. And anybody who says that it's just about having fun, regardless of what you win or lose, that's a loser. Only losers say that. I've never heard a winner say, it's just more about having fun than anything else. Winners don't say that. Winners say, I worked my tail off. I did everything I possibly could. I sacrificed. I committed. I went all in. And now I get to experience the results of my effort. Number 3, define your enemies. And look, guys, I'm not here to tell you that everything needs to be an enemy and everything is against you. I do want to put this disclaimer out there that it's very easy when you pick a fight to be pessimistic about everything that's around you. And there are very real threats, for sure, but not everything is your enemy. And I would just be very aware of that. And I say that as a disclaimer first because it's very easy to think that when you are going to get involved in this fight that everything is against you. And it's not necessarily against you. Sometimes we even take things that are neutral and we paint them as the enemy. But I will tell you, there are risks. And there are threats. And there are things that are against you. If you're trying to overcome being a pre-diabetic, then processed food is your enemy. And you ought to look at it that way. If you're trying to start and grow your business, then your competition is your enemy. That doesn't mean you can do things that are immoral against those individuals, but you have to win. If you're trying to salvage your marriage, then the culture of degeneracy and the risks of temptation and infidelity, those are enemies. And unless you can be honest about what your actual enemy is and what the threat that is present in your battle, you're not going to win. You're going to get punched. You're going to get cold cocked. You're going to get blindsided by something you're not even aware of. Be vigilant. We are to remain vigilant. Every single night, this is a small, silly example, but every single night when I go to bed, I go around and I do a sweep of the house. I make sure everything's secure, make sure everything's where it needs to be. The lights are off that need to be off. The lights are on that need to be on. The doors are locked. The security alarm is set. That's vigilance because there's very real threats. Now, some people would say, that's paranoia. Well, so be it. If you think that's paranoia, but that keeps me and my family safe, then I'm okay with you saying it's paranoia. I'd rather be paranoid than complacent. And those are false dichotomies. That's either or, that's extreme thinking. But if I'm going to err on one side or the other, it's going to be vigilance. Because the consequence of not being vigilant is too high. It's too great for me. I'm not willing to risk that. I'm not willing to roll the dice on my children. So I'm vigilant about it. I'm vigilant about my competition in business. I'm vigilant against substance abuse because I know I'm susceptible to that. I'm vigilant to temptation with other women because I'm in a committed relationship with my girlfriend. I'm vigilant against those things, actively working against those things because they're real threats to my well-being. and the fights that I'm willing to engage in. All right, number 4, if we're going to define our enemies, then we also need to simultaneously, number 4, enlist our allies. Who are the people that believe in you? Who are the people who stand by you? I talked a little bit about my issues with substance abuse over the past couple of years. You know what? There's a bunch of people, notable people you would know, who literally tried to throw me under the bus. Maybe not literally, figuratively, tried to throw me under the bus. They used the darkest time in my life as a stepping stool to prop themselves up. Those are my enemies, number 1. But I also need to focus on my allies. There were people who threw me under the bus, and there are people who, regardless of what I did and how I behaved and how I showed up, stood by me, believed in me, didn't coddle me necessarily, but didn't leave me. Those are my allies. Those are the people I want in my life. All those other people who wanted to throw me under the bus to prop themselves up, they can get lost. Those are enemies, and I consider them as such. But those individuals who stood by me, who believed in me, who supported me, who called me, who edified me, who checked in on me, who held me accountable to the poor decisions I was making, those are allies. Those are the people I'm going to invest in. Those are the people I care about. Those are the people that I'm going to stand behind when they have their own issues, and they do. I just heard from a friend the other day, and I'm not going to get into personal details, that is going through a very difficult circumstance in his relationship and marriage. He's an ally. Maybe he made some bad decisions I don't believe and agree with, but he's an ally. I'm going to support him. I'm going to stand by him, and I'm going to give him what he needs, whether it's easy or whether it's difficult for him. I'm going to give him exactly what he needs because he gave me exactly what I needed when I was going through my own personal and relational struggles. Who are your allies? So we can define our enemies and let's figure out what it is, but let's be indifferent to it and just to deal with it as we need to. But when it comes to our allies, let's really think about, how do we invest in them? How do we allow ourselves to be invested in? And how do we grow with these individuals? And the last point, guys, is in any battle, you cannot quit until the fight is over. I'm a big Rocky fan myself. Rocky doesn't quit. You know, think about any movie that you really aspire to be like that character, or you really resonate with, or the theme or the storyline that you believe in. It's the underdog, right? It's the guy that shouldn't win but does anyways. And he's confronted. This is the hero's journey that you guys, I think is it John Campbell? Somebody who had coined the term or wrote the book on the hero's journey. I think it's Campbell, but I don't know for sure. The hero always goes through his trials and his obstacles and his hurdles. You can't be a hero without those trials. If you've never had any trial in your life, you're never going to achieve anything great. It's the people who overcome the obstacles and the trials and the hurdles and the challenges that then become something great that we believe in. Whether it's a fictional character like Rocky, or it's an actual character like George Washington or Theodore Roosevelt or Alexander the Great, or fill in your hero of choice. Jesus Christ even overcame the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate challenge. And there's no wonder why he is the most recognized and influential human being to ever walk the planet. It's not because he was free from adversity, it's because he overcame adversity. And so when you're confronted with trial and obstacles and challenges and struggles and toil and strife, consider that it's God's way of saying, I'm going to prepare you for what's next, because there is something bigger and greater than what you're dealing with now. Guys, if you're in the throes of despair and you're struggling and you're having a hard time and you're wondering how you're going to make it through life and you're maybe even considering suicide, don't do that. You are being prepped for something greater. Believe it. Have some faith in God. If you don't have faith in God, have faith in me, that I'm telling you that I've been in difficult and demanding circumstances, some that I thought my life is over, and yet here I am. Still kicking, still going strong, maybe even stronger than I was before. Guys, all of us should be anxiously engaged in a fight. Not my fight, Not your neighbors, not your dads, not your brothers, not your colleagues, not your coworkers. Your fight. What is your fight? And what are you willing to do to make sure that you're victorious? Consider it. Think about it this weekend. Jot it down, write it down, and then come up with a plan. And I'll help you. But come up with a plan to address it and emerge victorious. That's all I've got for you today, guys. Again, as a reminder, go check out our good friends and sponsors of this show, MontanaKnifeCompany.com. Use the code Order of Man and check out our newest experience coming up May 1st through the 5th, 2025, called themensforge.com. All right, guys, we'll be back next week. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.